What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I am joined by the two best co-hosts in the business. They are, of course, Joe Day and EP Eric Pahowick. How's it going, boys?
Are we
are we recording right now?
Are we
in a simulation?
Let's just have AI do the whole damn thing. I mean,
yeah, I did find a voice over AI program. So, I just wanted to throw this out there that you guys can be replaced at any time.
Thank God.
Just a little warning.
I know. We're waiting for it. We're like, come on, this is taking up so much time.
So how's it going, boys?
Pretty good. I think we're all kind of recovering from the 3.5 hour live stream last night.
That was a long time.
It was good.
I feel like we should have 3 podcasts in the can already, a couple other shows, and here we are still having to record.
When we started recording started going live last night, I'm like, oh, is this the pod for this week? Can we just make this the pod? And Mike's like, nope, got to be bright and early tomorrow. So
yeah, but hey, we had a good time last night. We were, like we said, 3.5 hours on a live stream. I don't think we really had any intention of going that long, but everybody was having a good time, and we had a lot of people participating and throwing questions at us and reminiscing about the olden days and ripping taps, drinking a couple adult beverages. It was a good time.
I had several adult beverages. That's why I don't have one right now. Actually, I don't have the superpower that EP has, where he can drink, and then not be hungover the next day. Unfortunately, I am a smidge hungover.
Wow,
a smidge.
Hard to believe. I'm fine. So,
Okay.
Of course, somebody has to drive this train, and that has to be me, because God knows neither one of you two are prepared to do this.
No.
But EP,
What?
Did you open any cards recently?
I opened a bunch of 2022 Bowman Heritage or Topps Heritage last night. It was great.
Oh, nice! Pretty cool.
Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you mean?
You
probably mean.
So, yeah.
I think you probably mean in 2023 Bowman, don't you?
Oh, you opened Bowman. I didn't realize.
I did.
There goes Joe. Now you can talk about baseball. You're good.
No, yeah, I did. It was fun. Tons of fun, like 3 jumbo hobby boxes. Awesome stuff. Love it. I pulled a pretty good card.
I would say
Drew Jones blue autograph number to 150. Probably one of the most sought after cards in the set. I'd be willing to bet.
You think?
Yeah. So that was great. But one of the things is I think it was beyond that card. Shaky investment at $500 a box. Even despite the number of cards and stuff I got, like it feels like it would be. It's a lot of money to spend just for a fun rip. So this is like an investment type product, and I don't think I made my money back if I didn't want to hit that card. So that's one thing.
Isn't that kind of the way Bowman is, though? Like right now you didn't, right, but maybe 6 months from now or a year from now you could make out really well.
Yes, and like I still feel like you should be. I feel like it more should be. I come close to breaking even, and then if somebody hits later, then you can make money. But I don't even think I'd come close to breaking even without that card. I have a bad feeling that I might not.
Well, if that Ruiz guy hits, and you got 2 autographs in one box of him, and then 3 total, you're set.
Well, you're
driving a Lambo.
One was a sparkle, a shimmer sparkle auto. I actually put that aside. Actually, I sold one of his autos and put two of them aside for some potential grading.
Now, when I was watching your video, I was actually kind of expecting you to pull more color out of there. Like I mean, I could be wrong, but my expectations for, like you open Topps Chrome, I feel like you get 20 different colors out of every pack kind of thing. So maybe I was wrong for assuming that I would see more, but like that was the one takeaway I had, that you really didn't have a whole lot of like numbered colored cards out of the boxes you opened.
Right. Well, I mean, especially with the, I mean, I guess it's the same with the jumbo or the hobby, but you're getting a lot of the paper product. like I have 3 sets worth of probably 4 sets worth of base, the 1 to 100, which is the rookie cards and the stars. But then there's also the paper prospects. So you're there are like 2 sets there of the paper stuff with a couple inserts, and then like 4 chrome cards. So your chances of getting there's fewer chrome in there. Like if you're buying Bowman Chrome itself or Topps Chrome itself, all the cards are chrome. You know, with a lot of the paper stuff. I pulled a couple paper parallels, of course. But one of the videos I watched before leading up to this was Striker Breaks, and he said that if you want the color, the retail stuff is probably better, like blaster boxes, that sort of stuff is gonna give you more color. But if you want the autos and the colored autos, which I did get, I would say probably half my autos were color autos. I think they were all Bowman first, which was amazing. That's kind of pretty rare. That felt great.
I even knew that was good.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want color, you probably should get retail. But I was more looking for the autos, and I also wanted to have a bunch of the base stuff. So to put together some sets like that, I enjoy that part of it.
I watched the Leighton Rip. I mentioned this on the live stream, which, by the way, go back if you haven't, viewers, go back and watch just the SGC reveal portion of it. It is very informative. Peter goes through almost every card and tells why it got 1 grade, why it didn't get a 10 on the auto, all that stuff. It's like 35 minutes. It's definitely worth the watch. But watching some of the actual rip, they didn't get much color either. They opened 3, I think it was 3 boxes of jumbo. They didn't get much color. They didn't get a Drew Jones either. They didn't get a Drew Jones auto in 3 boxes. So
yeah, one of the things I said, you guys we were talking about it in text, and I didn't get a single other Drew Jones Chrome card. That was the only Chrome card I got of Drew Jones, and three jumbo hobby boxes. It was the auto. I mean, obviously, I'd rather get the auto than the other stuff.
Yeah, not a bad thing. Yeah,
right. But if you're trying to put together a set, like that's quite a few cards to go through. Did not have enough to even come close to a set of the prospects, the Chrome prospects. I did get 3 of his paper cards. So that's something, but
they all going off to SGC.
2 of them, 2 of the 3.
Now it was pretty cool. I was, perusing Sports Collectors Daily. I like to go through there and find out, and I'm reading a little bit about 2023 Bowman baseball, and all of a sudden, here's this list of cards with the links, and there's your card, your Drew Jones autograph. I'm like, I know that guy.
I know him.
That was my brush with greatness. Like your card was actually on there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, whenever that populated, my card was the second most watched card on the list, but my number of watchers surpassed that later. And I don't know how often it populates or whatever, but I did notice that by the end, my card had more watchers on it than the top card on that list. So that was pretty awesome. It's probably the second.
You. Mm-hmm. I texted you during, and I was like, "Holy crap! Your card's up to like 192 watchers." And I don't know what it ended up at, but I was like blown away.
Yeah, it was over 200. It was pretty wild. It's probably the second most expensive card, most sought after card I've ever pulled.
It's kind of funny because I threw a token bid on it. I was not shill bidding. I bid $200. I would have been more than happy to give EP $200 for that card, but eBay was really hammering me to try to jump back into that. I got like an actual notification, not when I was outbid, not when it was ending, but like when it had like a day or so left. Like it sent me a notification.
Remember this thing?
Like it did. It was basically a, hey, this is still out there, don't forget about it kind of thing. I was like, wow, they really want me.
It's 1,000 more than you originally bid, but
it was way over 1,000 more than what I bid. So yeah, it was a little bit out of my price range, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, fantastic pull. It was great that you got such a great card. We're hoping you get paid for it. Right. But I mean, even if you don't, I don't think you're going to lose much money on that because that card has a certain amount of value to it, and I don't think it's going to drop really.
It's quote unquote only numbered to 150, but there are not. I haven't checked recently, but I know there haven't been very many sold or listed so far. Yeah.
The Blues. It was crazy.
The blues are nice too.
Yeah.
I like the blue way more than the green and the orange. The blue is just a nicer looking card.
Especially with the
Diamondbacks
jersey.
Color. Yeah. Right. It's like a softer color, like green. I never understood why green was so low numbered. Panini does it too. Like the greens are out of 5 or out of 30, depending on the set. I'm like, this looks hideous. It doesn't look good unless you're an eagle, unless it's like an eagle or whoever wears green in baseball.
Right.
What I found hysterical about your whole rip was the only card you slow rolled happened to be the Drew Jones. And I'm like,
that was
fantastic.
fantastic.
Is this staged? Is this
I feel like
staged?
it was.
Yeah, I think he opened these up way
he
ahead of
did.
time.
He resealed them.
Yep, resealed a repack. I
Yeah.
mean, it just happened to be that insert or that card was on top of it. So I knew it was an auto. There's like, hey, we'll just do this.
And then you even mentioned it later. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe the only one I slow rolled was Drew Jones.
And his reaction to pulling Drew Jones was adorable, wasn't it, Joe?
Yeah, yes.
I was like,
EP,
this is funny.
our sweet little EP. It was so adorable. He's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, guys. Like, that's what I love about you, EP. You don't even say, oh my God. It's, oh my gosh.
Well, it's a family channel. It's a family channel. So
It's a family channel.
Yeah.
If people haven't watched that video, please go watch it. And if nothing else, just skip to the middle part where you see him pulling this card and watch that. Because
Box 2, just watch all of Box 2. It's a good build.
I mean, also you could watch. There's something that happens with Box 1 that's interesting, and then happens again in Box 3, which
that's a good.
Is also.
I know what you're talking about. There,
so Joe, you asked him if he was going to send to SGC. People that don't know out there, SGC again running another special $9 a card for Bowman. EP, how many you think you have to go to SGC?
40.
Whoa, nice.
I sent 13 in for the 2023 Top Series 1 deal just to test it out. I got some good scores. I'm guessing I'll probably get a couple more, maybe 9s in this one, but there are a lot of them that I was like, I did several rounds of cuts and looking at cards very closely, and there are some that let's look, all the cards, there's some white showing on some of the corners. There's some tiny little scratches on some of the chromes. So they're probably not going to 10, but they're probably, a lot of them are 9s. All of them are better than the set. Well, not all. I probably pulled like 5 or 6 cards that were, I would call damaged, that I wouldn't sell. But almost all of the cards that I pulled will fit the 7 PSA 7 or better, the near mint or better grading. That's the baseline for the top of eBay conditions. So I feel like, but I kept cutting and cutting and cutting to get. I think I have 40 cards that are really good potential candidates for 10s. Like there were 2 or 3 cards I put aside that were, this is probably a 9.5. So I want to try to get all 10s, expecting at least half of them to be 10s and 9.5s. But I want to put the best stuff out there that I can.
Well, at least sending the SGC, you probably won't have to worry about getting like random 4s and 5s on cards. By the way, did you really miss something? Baseball Card Collector Investor Dealer's new little video he sent with the autograph cards?
Yeah, I didn't. I missed it. What?
He got back a 5 and a 6 on these Cal Ripken. He buys the Cal Ripken Donruss Elite autographs, and like he had them pre-graded, like the one a 7 or 8 and the other
7 or 8
or 9. And the one came back a 5 and came back a 6. And he was like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I honestly, again, PSA, I swear, has to give you a 5 or a 6 in every order.
Just random. They gave me one.
They have a quota. Yeah. But yeah, like what cards are you sending in, EP? Are they like,
it's a mix of everything. I got some
inserts to hold to see where they turn out in a year or so, or
well, I mean, yeah, one of the autos that I put up right away in auction sold for $80, and that's Kyle Harrison, who is he's the top prospect in the Giants organization. He's a pitcher. But I did keep one of his refractors because it's centered really well. It's not an autograph, but just one of the new refractors, numbered to 99, centered pretty well. There's no scratches or anything on the surface, so I figured that could get a 10. Stuff like that. One of the Spencer Jones, the Yankees prospect, the big Yankees prospect, big as in large, potentially another Aaron Judge type player. Yeah. I got his lava crater refractor or whatever, and I'm going to send that one in. It's centered.
Those are real words.
Yeah, is that a thing?
Yeah, and then a couple of the paper first, like the Drew Jones, the bigger ones. Then a couple of the rookies. So I mean, yeah, just a mix of everything. Mix of everything.
Be a fun reveal.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yep.
And with SGC, you'll get it back in like 3 days.
Right.
It'll take you longer to ship it there than it will for them to grade it. The one thing that Peter did say.
Why don't we invite Peter on the podcast and he can grade them for him right here?
Dustin, Sports Card Dad, you have the hookup. Let's get Peter on the pod. Maybe just for the reveal. That'd be great.
Tell us why every card graded what they did.
But as he was going through, he made a really good point that I didn't know. He said we don't use like it's all about eye appeal. He's like, sometimes you get too much information if you're down there with a
You
loop
do.
and you're
Yeah,
looking
You
at
really
every
do.
single thing, and it's the forest through the trees kind of comment he made, and it was refreshing. Like, he was like, no, if this card looks, if you objectively go to someone on the street and say, what's this card look like, and they say it's a 9, chances are our graders are probably going to say the same thing. That's how you should be grading. That's exactly the way to do it. And that's why it's so smart for EP here to send those to SGC, because they'll get them back quick and they'll be accurately graded.
I did see there was, or listened to one podcast where they were somebody was doing a talk about grading, and they were talking about all the tools they use and everything, and they said they only use a 10x magnifying loop, and if you're a card collector and using a 30x loop, 30x magnification, it's way too much. You're going to see way too much. Don't worry about that, because none of the graders use that. It's 10x is kind of like the standard that they use.
I have a 10 on mine, and even with the 10, you see a lot. Like I've many times like looked at something and then pulled away and looked at it with my eye, and I'm like, how am I seeing this under magnification? And like, really, that brings up a good point too. Like, should it matter? Like, if you're on that 10x, you can't see with the naked eye. Why should it really be hurt by it? Like, you're never gonna. I don't see people walking around with their loop looking at their cards in the slab, right?
Right.
Or I think it was Peter, or it might have been one of the guys from Leighton, said you don't see guys going to shows pulling cards out with a 30x loop. You know, they're looking at them and they're like, okay, the centering looks good, there's no scratches, okay, good enough. Like, there's no one going out with the high powered stuff buying cards at card shows. That's just a really, I said it before, really refreshing way to hear from Peter, running, in my opinion, I don't want to speak for you guys, the most accurate grading company out there.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I'm actually, I did the same thing with Tops when I sent those in. Like, obviously I was very strict about what I wanted to send in, but I have like 2 or 3 cards that have either a little speck of something or like a small line in the, like, if you look at it in the right light, just to test out and see, hey, is this they're still going to get this a 9? There's a little touch of white on the one corner. This is still going to be a 9. Is this going to be a 9? It's going to be a 10. Like, then see how they grade it. I feel like some of the touches of white, they sometimes let go if it's a very, very small touch. So we'll see. But only a couple of those. I'm trying to be very strict.
Well, it'll definitely be a fun reveal when you get that
for
one.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but there was an NFL draft this week.
And you said NFL? What is
NFL? I think it's National Football League. Is that what
foosball? I think it's foosball.
Something like that.
Foosball.
Yeah. But they had this big shindig. It was all over TV, all over the internet. I don't know.
How did I miss that?
I don't know, man. I must have been doing other stuff. But yeah,
somebody talking about it on Twitter. I didn't see anything about it on Twitter.
I didn't hot takes about it at all. Were there any hot takes about this anywhere?
Nothing. Nobody complaining about picks. Nobody anointing their team the Super Bowl champion because of a pick. You know, I haven't seen any of that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks this year. So I wanted to, we're not really so much talk about the draft itself, but I want to talk about, what do you think the impact will be on 2023 football product? Last year, no offense, Joe, all we had was Kenny Pickett.
I've said it myself, so no offense taken.
You know, really a down year as far as, like, the quarterback position drives the card market. We can agree with that. We cannot agree with that, but that's a factual statement. Like, whether it should be that way, I don't think it should, but it is. And you work with what you have. And the fact that you had 3 quarterbacks go in the first round, 1 go in the early second, who should have been a first rounder. I'm kind of surprised he wasn't, but I kind of think that 2023, there's going to be a lot more interest in football in the upcoming year than there was in 2022.
And I'll tell you what, I think the best quarterback, when we look back 10 years, could be the other guy who went later than I thought he would, and that's Hooker out of Tennessee.
He went in the third? Was he the third?
I thought he might have went in the late second, but I was doing other stuff, so I just had it on in my other TV. But I think he could end up being the best of the bunch. 3 quarterbacks in the top 4. I mean, so when you talk about quarterbacks driving the market, we talked, was it last week or the week before, about Prism prices, sealed box prices dropping, and just boxes of cards dropping overall. and I said this is not going to be the same next year, because it's not. I mean,
No,
there's definitely four, maybe even five quarterbacks that people are going to be chasing, and they are going to be putting a lot of money behind. So if you watch breaks, you're going to hear a lot of boom, you're going to hear a lot of fire, you're going to hear people literally are shaking, a lot of let's effing go. I mean, you're going to hear it all, because these quarterbacks are going to drive the market, and I think it's gonna be reminiscent of the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. It's gonna be very reminiscent of that draft, and the product is gonna follow.
Yeah, that's my comparison I was gonna make, was that the 2021, where I mean, like that year, there was a lot of question whether any of them were going to be good, and then we end, a year later, 2 years later, like we're seeing that some of them start to pan out. So it won't be, definitely not. Don't give up on this. If you have that many quarterbacks being drafted that early, likely that the one or two of them is gonna pan out. And I wonder if my biggest concern is that the prices are gonna start out astronomically high. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, I'll be out. Like that's probably what's gonna happen. I feel like Panini watches the market and knows what's happening, and they're gonna jack up the prices.
And they know they're on borrowed time right now with their licenses, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to try and squeeze as much money. They can use this as the excuse to squeeze as much money out of their product as possible. Oh, look at this quarterback class. We can now charge you double what we were charging you for last year's Prism. The one thing, and I think I mentioned at DP during one of our group threads, is at least you'll know when some of this product comes out if it's worth it, because the product doesn't come out for like 8 months. Like we won't be seeing, when will we actually see Prism for this draft class? I mean, a year from now, maybe, ballpark.
Yeah, it just came out not that long ago. Yeah.
Right.
Like maybe
Prism
a month
for
ago?
last year's draft just came out. So a lot of those high-end products, Prism, Immaculate, National Treasures, Flawless, all of those are going to be a year from now. So you can wait. People need to evaluate a little bit better.
Did either of you guys see that it was Card Purchaser on Twitter tweeted out, and it was like one of his ads or whatever, but it was mega boxes of Sage hit autographs with like 6 autographs per box of the new stuff for like $40. I thought it was like whatever. Maybe it was 50, but it was reasonably priced. And I actually thought maybe I should get a box.
Did they have everyone?
I realize it's Sage. It's Sage, and you're going to end up with a lot of offensive lineman autographs. But
opened quite a bit of Sage in 2021, and we learned a pretty hard lesson about buying Sage. Right? It was bad.
It's not. But
there was probably one Trevor Lawrence in the whole product.
Yeah, probably.
And everyone was chasing that. Yeah, I mean, is it any different than Sage back in 1999? I mean, you opened up a whole box, got a ton of autos, and Mike, you had a bunch of autos left over. You had one good one, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like the late 90s stuff was better than it is now. Like I think you had a little better level of player in that, like at least easier to get than it is nowadays. Like you get a lot of crap. Like a lot of crap. A lot of guys that probably aren't even in the league. So, all right. So I have a couple questions to ask you about this. First of all, what is your guess of what Prism football will drop at from Panini next year per box? What $750? I think it was this year.
$1K.
I was going to say 1,200. I was going to say 1,200. Yeah.
That would be a fun one to check. But I think you're definitely both in the range. I doubt it will be under 1,000. So, and out of the quarterbacks that were taken, if you had money, if somebody gave you $10,000 to invest into one of these players, which one of these guys would you be putting your money in?
So I said that Hooker is my favorite, like possible, maybe, he's like the long-term, maybe he could pop and he could be the best of the bunch. I'm not going to invest $10,000 in him. So that is not my answer. Man, that's tough. I think Bryce Young probably is the call. Alabama has a strong fan base, so his stuff should consistently stay where it's at, unless he just totally tanks. I don't know. I would never put $10,000 in any of these people. Buy a Tom Brady.
It's not your money.
Oh, it's for free money.
Somebody gave it to you. Yeah.
Then Hooker. 10,000. 10,000 to him. No, I actually, joking aside, I think if I was going to put money in, it'd probably be Bryce Young is the safest to do it with. I like the coaching staff down there. They have some weapons. I could see the offense doing fairly well.
I'm going to be boring and same thing. Bryce Young's the pick for me. Like I would just definitely. He seems like he's probably the best chance to do something right away.
I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. I kind of, maybe it's the Eagles fan in me, but knowing the job that they did with Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts got better. Like I know they gave. I'm an Eagles fan. I watch a lot of their games. I was not sold on Jalen Hurts going into last year. Like he was a very inaccurate quarterback. He had a bad habit of like throwing that college pass where you kind of lob it toward players a lot. Like he had in
fastball strike that that was no touch whatsoever.
Yeah,
it was
in 2021, like there were a lot of plays, especially deep balls, where guys were open, but they were stopping and waiting for the ball to get there, and the defender got there before the ball. And last year, like he improved a lot. So I kind of feel like with the coaching staff going there, it's kind of funny that the Eagles like rated the Colts coaching staff, and now the Colts are re-rating the Eagles, so they're like doing this back and forth thing. But I don't know, I feel like with Jonathan Taylor there, with Michael Pittman Jr., I feel like they have some talent around him that he's not going to have to do everything, but I feel like them having the knowledge of work with Jalen Hurts, knowing what he could do, they have a quarterback with a lot of the similar strengths of him that I feel like maybe he'll be put in a good position. So
I feel like you buy the Bryce Youngs, and then you sell the Bryce Youngs when they're hot, and then you buy a bunch of Anthony Richardsons and then hold them until he gets to be the starter.
Yeah. So I don't know, pretty exciting though.
So just about really quickly about Anthony Richardson, I texted you guys because it was between Levis and Richardson, right? At that pick when they were on the clock, and then they took Richardson, and I said, it looks like they're swinging for the Mahomes home run with that pick. Super draft should be fun. I mean, super for fantasy football, super flex draft should be fun. I think he is. If there's a Mahomes in this draft, it's probably him. Just raw talent is off the charts. He has a Andy Reid coaching tree staff there. Yeah, that would be a great call, and you might be able to get them a smidge cheaper because he's probably not going to start right away. I think.
Who do they have though?
I don't know. Well, Sam Ellinger. Every time someone pulled one of his cards, there was a lot of "let's effing go." So maybe it's him.
And before, go ahead.
Do they have Minshew? Who has Minshew?
I'm looking at the Colts depth chart right now. I have no idea who they have.
Just in general on the draft, the Eagles just took a leak all over the NFL. Like once again, they were as if they weren't already loaded. Like what the maneuvers and stuff they made, the players they got. Like man, like Mike, you got to be happy about that draft.
Oh, I like they're in a great position because they could take the best player available. Like if you're confident in your team enough that you can take the best players that fall, like you can clean up. And I feel like they cleaned up in the draft. Like
their best pick wasn't even a pick. Their best pick was trading a 4th round pick for a 1st round talent running back in DeAndre Swift. I don't know what the Lions were thinking. I don't want to make this a football, fantasy football draft or show or whatever, but I don't know what the Lions were thinking.
You've been trying to make this podcast that since day one.
Maybe we'd have 1,000 subscribers.
Maybe we would probably.
But so the Colts quarterback room is Sam Ellinger, Gardner Minshew, and
I thought
Nick Foles.
Oh, that's right.
Man.
Yeah,
there's plenty of talent there.
I will forever love Nick Foles, but how he still has a job in the NFL, I don't know.
Because he's an Eagle, and it's an Eagles coaching staff in there. That's how.
But man,
that magic that year was.
He had the greatest run of a guy who should have never had that run ever in NFL history. But and he was good. He was good.
Yeah.
He was fantastic for that. But that was fun. I mean, it will be interesting to see who becomes a popular player out of that. I guess we'll find out pretty soon. So draft pick sets will probably be out before we know it, right?
Yeah. Score.
All right.
Yeah, go get it. Score.
Moving on. we talked a little bit about, autographs and whether they're authentic and how companies can make sure they are, whether they should send stuff to players or not. I know we had comments about them signing an affidavit saying that they did, but like, I don't believe affidavits are really legally binding. So like, you're just taking somebody at their word, even if they are signing an affidavit. But saw that this year, Fanatics and Topps created the Top Spot. They rented a house, must have been a big house in Arizona, and had 50 of baseball's top young prospects all hang out in the house and sign their cards for Bowman, for Topps, for upcoming Topps Chrome, for a bunch of upcoming Topps releases. Apparently, they had 6 pallets of cards delivered because at the time they did it, I guess there was a snowstorm in Minnesota or something where they were printed and they were worried they weren't going to be able to get the cards there. But 6 pallets of cards. But yeah, like there are pictures of Drew Jones signing his cards there and people doing the on card. Like it was just, what a neat idea. This is the first time that any card company has ever done anything. And I know everybody's sick of me talking about Fanatics, but you can't argue. It's a good idea, right? Here you have all the prospects and rookies in baseball, and they're all here in one place signing all their cards, like making it an event for them, making it fun. I'm sure they were compensated to be there. Like, cool idea. Again, something different coming from a company that hasn't been involved in the card industry forever.
Yeah, you know that they made that turned into like a party atmosphere. There's this fun. It was not only was it they were getting the work done, but they made it turn into this fun thing. And like you said, like this is somebody that more of this, just make more of this stuff is going to be happening, and I'm looking forward to it, like because it's going to get us the on-court autos and the autos
and
in general,
have the auto.
Right.
So you don't have to have redemption.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, we're going to be getting that. So I love it. Like let's keep doing it. Let's make sure we do it for all sports once we get all the licenses.
Yeah. It's like a real life the Heisman House when they do those Nissan commercials. I can just imagine how much fun that was. Now we all know that Mike is a huge shill for Mike Rubin and Fanatics. So I'm on the payroll. Yeah, he's on the payroll. He's not giving us anything. So EP and I can be totally objective on this one. So I can say I agree with Mike. So that gives him his comments a little weight because again, shill for Rubin and Fanatics.
I should have the paid. Where do they put that in the YouTube video?
Right.
This video paid for by Fanatics.
No, just 1/3 of the video. Just 1/3.
Just this little screen.
Just that little screen.
I'm gonna get like a Fanatics frame to put around here.
I'm shocked you don't have a Fanatic shirt on, to be honest.
Not yet.
But it reminded me of a much cooler version of when teams used to go out and have the rookie photo shoots for NFL players. I mean, I'm sure that was much more of a boring day. Throw in a bunch of jerseys. We're going to take pictures of you running around for your cards. You're going to do autographs and all that stuff. Back then, too, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they weren't signing anywhere near as many cards as they have to now. Pallets. So 6 pallets is absolutely crazy. But this is a good way to do it. It's a good way to get on-card autographs back into the hobby as the default instead of the, oh my God, it's an on-card auto. Can you believe it? Like that, to me, it's a great idea. And I really, like EP said, I really hope they do it for the rest of the sports, like get those first round picks in the NFL draft, get them into a house and do it that way too.
I also hope that they maybe turn this into a card subset, like an insert set or something with some photos. Like you get a bunch of the top prospects all together in like one photo.
That'd be cool.
And then
that'd be good for like SPs and like photo variations and stuff like that too. Yeah.
Do you remember from the 99 Topps Chrome and I think Bowman Best or Bowman, one of the other sets had like almost like a graduation style picture of all the prospects from the photo shoot sitting on bleachers. And then they had the young guns and it was the 6 quarterbacks that were the first 6 quarterbacks taken in that draft class and all that. Like it'd be really, really neat if they did stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like have the different players maybe playing pool or like because
Right.
if they rented this huge house, they're gonna be playing foosball for sakes.
Right.
Like they're gonna it would be fun to see some of those behind the scenes shots.
Really fun
in
insert set or set or subset. Really fun.
Yeah. And like you're like an 18 or 19-year-old kid who plays baseball. You get to go hang out with all these other kids who are great baseball players, have fun. Like that's the difference. Like you have fanatics coming in. They're way more in touch with like the culture of sport and everything now.
They're all about the vibes.
They're all about the vibes. Yeah. But like seriously, like, it's a simple but different way of doing things that I feel like, you had the rookie photo shoots before. If you're an 18-year-old kid, if you're you're going to go to the rookie photo shoot, they're going to make you put these jerseys on, run around.
Yeah.
Or, you get to go hang out in this like
party
house
right.
out in Arizona, and you have to sign some card. Like you're definitely in on that, where the other one, you're kind of like, oh, do I have to go?
But by the way, I just want to see, like, say it's a set of like the autos are numbered to say 300. The difference between autograph 1 and autograph 300, as I'm sure having some fun, maybe vibing.
They're too young.
Yeah, I didn't start drinking.
No hookers and blow. I guarantee you.
Blow at them. I wonder who the chaperone was. Do you think Ruben was there hanging out?
Oh, I'm sure he was there hanging out. Why not? Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Yeah. Oh, but EP, your card was probably signed there too. So
I was thinking that. Cool. I was actually thinking that.
Cool.
Like I'm sure it was because they did all the Bowman there, and they're. Like I said, they're upcoming tops, and they had Corbin Carroll. They had a picture of him signing like a black and white like tops card. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like the negative, they do the negative.
Yeah, kind of. So
it wasn't the pearl, but was the Bowman or was it tops? Was tops?
Was tops? Yeah, as far as tops, whatever he'll be in. So.
I wonder if it's maybe a Topps Heritage like black and white photo variation or something like that. Possibly that would be kind of.
No, it was the actual 2023 Topps.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But it was his card, but it was like a black and white version of it. It looked like. I mean, it could be wrong, but that's what it looked like. And they had somebody else, I forget who the prospect was, like signing his Topps Chrome. So I mean,
that's cool.
Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe they should involve. I'll volunteer to be a chaperone. So,
I won't. I get in so much trouble, man.
I'm
backing up the beer. Keggers. We're doing keggers, guys. Keg stands. Let's do it.
Like, could you imagine as a collector? Like, they probably couldn't let any collectors in the house. Just to see all the cards that are there, all the cards that have been autographed. Like the stack of 150 blue autographs, the stack of 25 orange autographs, like all that stuff.
I'd be bringing cargo shorts.
That's exactly why we would be allowed in.
Right.
Yeah. Joe would be just wrong for the job on all levels.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We love you.
I'll fully admit that.
Chaperone? No. Anybody who's thinking of having Joe be a chaperone.
No.
Don't.
Joe Day chaperone extraordinaire.
Don't do it. Yeah.
He has business cards and everything.
For my chaperoning skills.
Business cards. Oh, okay. Well, from going to have a little bit of fun, we're going to talk a little bit about an idiot. Our idiot of the week.
Narrow that down.
Well, we don't have an idiot of the week on the show here, but we have one this week. Former NFL player Evan Mathis. Holy cow, bro!
Former Eagle.
Yeah,
I am not claiming.
We need to specify ownership of Evan Mathis.
But yeah, I mean, he's been part of the hobby for a while, and he is a card trimmer. Like, he makes no bones about it. He had posted an instructional video on how to trim like vintage cards, and like, I don't know the purpose behind it. Like I told you guys when we were talking about it, even if it was supposed to be like a joke, he's literally showing you the way to do it. So like, you're not putting this info out there as a joke. You know how to do it, and you're sharing it with the world. Like, are we really at that point now? Like, one of the things in the hobby that drives me crazy is how so many collectors give a pass for things that are just wrong, like crap you see Panini or Topps get away with, and they just kind of, oh well, like in PSA with them being closed, but it's the collector's fault for sending so many cards. Like, stop making excuses for crap like this. Like, the guy is showing you how to trim cards. He's admitting that he sent cards to PSA that they didn't catch it. Like, I don't know. Like Sports Card Radio was saying, like, just assume if you have a vintage card that has been trimmed, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know if if you watched the video of former Eagles player Evan Mathis.
I haven't.
But I assumed you watched it to, you're going to get some of your vintage cards under the knife, right? Is that, I mean, it's a how-to video. Why not? Right. Let's all do it. They apparently PSA is going to just let it slide too. I mean, he's an idiot, and he's a D-bag for doing it, putting it on there. I'm going to take it to a different discussion of how are these cards getting through these grading companies? Like, I would never feel comfortable at this point buying a vintage card from but that one doesn't go through.
Evidence.
But this is my problem.
Yeah.
Because this card was in a top screw down, a non-recessed screw down, it comes back as altered.
Right.
Yet the damn cards that are intentionally being altered are
making it through. Right.
Like, what is the point of grading? Like,
and
older cards are the one area that grading would make sense to make sure your cards are real, they're not altered. Yet something that is unintentionally changed a little bit, which was commonplace in the hobby, that thousands and thousands of these cards come back because they were in the way that you stored them. But these are not okay to slab. But you know what? Let me flatten this out a little bit and trim it, and I'll send it to you. And okay, we're not going to catch that. That's what bothers me. Like, come on. Like, what's the point of having a grading company if they can't catch these cards that are altered when they know people are doing it? That guy is doing it. There are very specific people in the hobby that people know trim cards. How do they get them through to PSA? Like, they should just blackball those people and not grade anything they send in. My rant's over.
To your point, Mike, real quick, is that PSA fanboys are going to come out and say, well, that's your fault for putting them in non-recessed 30 years ago when
grading wasn't even a
thing. Grading wasn't even a thing. And when that was in our opinion, back then, we didn't know any better, right? That was the safest way to protect your card, was putting them in those 4 screw downs, non-recessed 4 screw downs. But again, it's blaming you because we can't give any crap to PSA. We can't give any crap to this card trimmer. We can't give any crap to Beckett. Like, it's all the collector's fault.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a collector, like if you were a collector in like the mid, like even say the early '90s, when Ricky Henderson is like breaking steals records, and he's breaking like home runs for leadoff hitter records, and like he's obviously one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and you have a really nice 1980 Topps rookie card of Ricky Henderson, you're putting it in one of those big glass screw downs, and you might display it, you might show it off in that big thick screw down, because that was what you did with a card like that. That's what you did with that card.
I love them. Great.
Yeah. And
show me a holder today that's any better than that gigantic brick.
Right. Yeah. And you could use it for like home defense. Like, imagine if someone tries to rob you, you can just take one of those.
You could chuck it at them and not have to worry about hurting the card.
Right. It's not going to hurt the card at all. But so if you're a collector and you're like, oh man, now I'm going to get this thing graded. I knew it was really nice before, and you're going to send it in. You send it in, and then they say, oh, you can't grade this thing. Yeah, there are people that are doing that on purpose and then trimming it and sending it in, and they're getting their cards back. Okay, like that is definitely not okay. You don't
have to go all the way back to 1980. EP. I put 2 Tiger Woods cards. What year was that set, Mike? Was it 2001? I put 2 of them in those, and they got sent back to me, and I got charged for them. As Mike, I'm sure, got charged for that Ricky Henderson.
I did,
That's the part that really pisses me off, because if it was in that, we're not intentionally trying to manipulate this card. We just took them out of these cases, and you're going to charge me for that. That's where I get really mad. Send them back to me, fine, whatever, but don't charge me the $25 or whatever it was to grade it.
just to go back to this former NFL player that shall not be named that we started this conversation with. You said we don't have an idiot of the week, but I feel there's some times when it feels like we could have an idiot of the week, and this guy would definitely fit that bill. And he didn't he tag PSA in the video or
tag
whatever
Nat
too?
Turner
Like on
specifically.
Nat Turner, Nat Turner in the video, and like, man, like, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing, dude?
Yeah. This is our hobby. Like, no, it's not. Like, unfortunately, people like that like are known in the hobby for good or bad, but like they're, you know, these big time collectors, investor flippers. So, you know, they're more important than the rest of us that are here digging through the dollar boxes at a card show. So
the people who've had a Ricky Henderson in a 4-screw screw down since 1989 and now deciding to get it graded, they're the ones that get pooped on.
Yeah. But I don't know. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Okay. I'm going to wrap things up this week with our old buddies over at Sports Card Radio. They are claiming that Fanatics is going to buy Leaf. Have not had any confirmation on this. This is not something that is a guaranteed thing. We do know that Brian Gray has been, you know, touting something happening. You know, he likes to get himself out there in the news and the hobby.
And on his own cards.
Yeah, and on his own cards.
On his own cards. That's right.
The centerpiece of Joe's collection. But yeah.
Up here somewhere.
So we don't know, but when did not knowing for sure stop us from talking about stuff in the past? This could be fun. What do you think? Would Fanatics buy Leaf? Why would they buy Leaf? Would they keep Brian Gray? I don't know. Let me know, Joe. Tell me. Make it make sense.
So to me, I'd be like, okay, this is a guy that comes with a lot of baggage. It's a company that doesn't have, like, I like Pro Set, sure, but would Fanatics start making Pro Set cards? Like, I don't know exactly. The thing I'm thinking is they have a lot of, I suspect, contracts and deals with non-sports people. That's what I could see them, the pop culture stuff. So I could see them being interested in that portion of it, and maybe trying to go against Upper Deck and some of this non-sports space. Should they bring Brian Gray on? I would say no. Just give him the money and get whatever deals he has. But they did hire a bunch of Panini people, so apparently they're like, "Hey, we'll hire literally anyone who was bad at cards for the last 5 years. Let's just bring them on board." So I could see that too. But if I'm Fanatics, if Ruben is as smart as we think he is, and as much as Mike praises him, you would hope he doesn't bring Brian Gray on board. I think that would be a mistake.
This easily feels like one of those topics where I walk into the shop and walk up to the counter, and either Mike says to me or I say to him, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And we're like 100%. Just thinking about all the things that have gone on. And one of the podcasts I listened to was Sports Card Nation. They kind of said maybe what this is them looking to get somebody who is good at making the deals and stuff for non-licensed products too. Like, so, you know, Leaf is really good at that. So maybe that is another thing. And you know, I don't think it hurts would hurt Fanatics to look into stuff like this. Because I mean, as much as Leaf does some things that we are not big fans of, and Brian Gray does these things, they're still selling cards, they're still making cards, they're selling enough of them to sell. So it doesn't hurt for Fanatics to, you know, just test the waters and see what else is out there. And
it's just taking out one more competitor.
Right.
I mean, it's just
that's true
like,
too.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. There's one less we have to deal with. So just eat them up, and the ancillary, maybe the pop culture century or whatever the set's called. And some of the non-licensed stuff that are interesting. And maybe there is a pro set that they want to make as part of a Fanatics low end, you know, set. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to do it. So I could see it happening.
I mean, I think there is still some value to, like, in the Leaf name, like as a baseball, like you have a baseball license, you could actually make licensed Leaf baseball again. So, you
1990 Leaf Chrome.
Yeah.
1990 Leaf baseball. I mean,
Leaf
yes.
Chrome.
Buy in a box.
Maybe that has something to do with it too. Maybe it's the intellectual property of the Leaf name and the Pro Set name. I don't know. I do think the pop culture cards would be a big part of it too. And Michael Rubin is friends with how many rappers and stuff like that. So would you be surprised to see them come out with some kind of card with all these big name rappers and stuff in it?
No, not at all.
And how huge would that kind of a product be?
That's a product that would grow 10x the hobby, right? You're bringing in different people into buying cards. Like if you follow a rapper, what are the odds the crossover is you also collect nerdy baseball cards, right? So now if you're expanding it to folks that don't generally buy cards, you give them something that they'd be interested
bigger and much broader audience. And that's what Fanatics wants to do. They want to give our hobby to a broader audience. They want the people who watch baseball games who don't collect cards to go, oh, I'll try that. They might want people that listen to a certain kind of music or different kind of music, go, oh, they have cards? That sounds pretty cool. I could get his autograph. I could get part of what he wore on stage. That sounds pretty cool. So
I have a question for you, Mike, and you might not know the answer because there is that gap, after the shop closed that we all kind of have. What does Leaf actually own? Because Panini has some of those Leaf products in their IP from when they bought Playoff, and I guess Playoff had bought I'll just use one example off the top of my head, like Rookies and Stars is a Panini product now that used to be a Leaf product. So I don't know exactly what Leaf, other than does Leaf even have the intellectual property to make Leaf baseball
that's
it
a
was
good question.
back in the 90s?
Yes.
I really don't know.
I'm not totally sure because I do know the current Leaf brand does not have any lineage or connection to the original baseball. So, I could be wrong in my assumption that they could make, but it is still Leaf.
Right.
And
it's a weird name to pick if you don't have any of their products.
Panini doesn't make any products that are Leaf. They don't make any Leaf products. So
they just take some of their names that
I don't know
over.
that if that IP was purchased by the current company. I don't know if it was dead or dormant. Like I said, I was, from the time when my shop closed till we got back into it, there is a gap that I'm not totally clear on the history of where names went where. But you would think that Leaf baseball would be able to be made, but I'm not totally sure. But it would be really cool if it could, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, hell, even Pro Set football, I think, would be fun. That's
a
fun
Pro
product.
Set name. That was part of something probably along the line. So I don't know. Somebody needs to get Collector's Edge too and start making something.
So before EP, not to interrupt, but the people, there was this mystery box product that was out in CVS's and Rite Aids and things like that, and I think it was called Collector's Edge.
Yeah, it does.
And I was like, no, that's different. That's a different company. That's
no connection
no lineage
to the card company.
To the
my thought. I just had a brief thought. What are we possibly going to get an Allen Ginter style product in football and basketball as well, and then signing those celebrities and getting those all the interesting stuff that is part of the Ginter brand for football and basketball. That's something also that the Leaf is, because of their Pop Century connection, could definitely be part of.
I think that would be the crown jewel of going after that product, going after Brian Gray's company. I think that would be the Pop Century stuff. Feels like the crown jewel to me, and really get into that non-sports space that I don't know what Fanatics and Topps currently do, because you have the box that I opened of Rick and Morty. I forget, Cryptozoic, I think, is the name of that company. Then you have Upper Deck that does the Marvel stuff. It'd be nice if Fanatics got into that non-sports space too. I don't know who makes DC products. Maybe there's an avenue there. Yeah, there is. There is. But it's
HRO, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a fun thing. Could you imagine it with the DCU, which I think is on the rise? Could you imagine Fanatics picking up that license and making DC products? They'd be as popular as Marvel products if Fanatics put their weight behind them. There's a lot of fun stuff that they could do. But I think the Pop Century thing is where they're looking at right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think one way or the other, Brian Gray will still end up with a job. So,
somehow, some way, always.
Like, we know, like, we do make fun of the fact they had a card. He is very outspoken. You know, he was completely wrong with me about Fanatics, which is kind of funny. And
I'm surprised it took you this long to bring it up. I was like looking at my watch. I'm like, is Mike going to bring that up or not?
Did you start a timer?
But to his credit, when I called him out on it, he did basically say I was right. But, you know, I like he is running this company and he is signing the deals and stuff. So there's another side of him that, you know, I think doesn't get talked about. He is signing these deals. He must be pretty good at that part of his job, because that company is still making it with unlicensed products. So, you know, as much as we like to kind of poke a little fun at his outward public bombacity, like he kind of he has to be doing something right.
By the way, the more egregious thing about Brian Gray was that his name was for the Mike Tyson card. Mike Tyson's opponent was Gray, so obviously it was a close fight. That's more egregious than making a card of yourself. But I will give him a pat on the back for this. He did something that Panini is fighting not to do. He sued CeeDee Lamb to make him sign cards. And yeah, sure, that you might have think of that as only a business decision for Leaf, but it's a decision for fighting for collectors, like people who had those redemption cards. Like, he went out and he made sure, and CeeDee Lamb signed the cards. I mean, so there are things that he does, but he is part of that good old boys network. So regardless of what happens, he will find a job. He'll be just fine, especially after he sells Leaf to Panini or to Fanatics.
He also went out there. We talked about it. It was a while ago with the soccer product, where he went out and got all these names and he was fighting and saying this product's worth way more than it should be. Like, could you imagine if there was the Topps brand attached to that as opposed to the Leaf brand? It would probably have sold 2x. You know what I mean? Like, so like that kind of personality, those kinds of skills definitely could help Topps or Fanatics in the future.
Yeah. And there we go. We can say something nice about people every now and then, right?
Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Not Panini, but
no.
I kid. Panini is not all that.
Then you remember Panini points, like,
Panini points.
Terrible.
Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Pretty good chat this week, and I will see you next week.
Adios.
Take care, guys.
See you, boys.